It's a moment of soul-searching throughout America. A child's plea for understanding in New York. In California, a multi-ethnic call for racial healing. At rallies across the country, thousands giving voice to generations of pain and sacrifice, to those who felt unseen and unheard.
They were mothers! They were workers! They left grieving children behind!
I've highlighted calls for racial equity for decades.
Asian lives matter! Asian lives matter!
But Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders have rarely been the focus until now. The murder of 8 people in the Atlanta area, 6 Asian women at 3 Asian-themed spas, galvanizing my community in a way I've never witnessed before, capping a year of skyrocketing reports of hate towards our community.
I'm tired of seeing my elders on the floor! I'm tired of seeing them attacked!
It began on a dreary afternoon in Georgia, a state humming with activity amidst newly lifted COVID restrictions. A white gunman carrying out a shooting rampage across those 3 Asian-owned spas, 2 in Atlanta and a third 27 miles away. Many in the Asian community convinced the attacks were racially motivated, asking why those businesses, why those victims. Police have not ruled out a hate crime and are still investigating a motive. They initially said the shooter told investigators he had a sex addiction.
You have to look at the victims that we had in the city of Atlanta. All of our victims were female. All of our victims were Asian. All of our victims were a little bit older. So we're looking at all of those different variables into our investigation.
Among those killed, Hyun Grant, a single mother of 2 boys.
What do you think she sacrificed along the way for your benefit?
Her whole life. Any dream or aspiration she could have had. She was quite literally the only thing that kept us running.
23-year-old Randy Park, now left alone to care for his younger brother. He started a GoFundMe shortly after her death, trying to raise $20,000 to help pay for rent and funeral expenses.
You thought $20,000 was a lot.
I thought that was more than enough. I merely wanted to ask for just enough to stay at this current residence for at least 1 more month while I settle my mom's funeral processes.
It's now raised close to $3 million. Donations pouring in from around the world. Randy's loss resonating with so many.
What do you make of this outpouring of support?
Surreal. Otherworldly.
Randy says that his mother first tried to shelter him from knowing where she worked.
What did she tell you she was doing for a living?
Makeup parlor. I was told that she worked at a makeup parlor with her friends, and that's what I've always told everybody.
But you came to learn differently.
Yeah, I found out on my own later, and I confronted her about it.
That must have been hard.
Yeah, confronting your parent about something they deliberately hid from you. Obviously, that's going to be difficult.
Why do you think she shielded it from you?
Would you tell your kids you work at a massage parlor?
It's a good question.
It wasn't an environment that I would call homely. For me personally, maybe to somebody else it would have been, but for me and my brother, it definitely is not the kind of place that I would have want my mother to spend most of her life. But I can't ever shame you or resent anything that you'll do, as long as it's with the intention of raising us.
Asian massage businesses have become synonymous with sex work, reinforced by depictions of Asian women in Western media. Insidious stereotypes that hypersexualize, like in the movie Rush Hour 2.
Oh my goodness. Images have power. Stories have power.
Amanda Nguyen, an advocate for sexual assault survivors, says these exaggerated portrayals influence the way Asian American women are treated in society.
When you think of humans as objects and when you erase their humanity, then it is no surprise that our lives are seen as worthless. It is both misogyny and racism that has resulted in this massacre. Sexual violence inherently is about power. So when you have sexual violence and you combine that with racism, both of which are about power and control, what you have is mass shootings that have targeted women of color.
The majority of massage parlors are, legitimate businesses that don't provide like sexual services at all.
Esther K is an organizer for Red Canary Song, a grassroots collective of Asian and migrant sex workers and allies. She says whether the victims were or were not engaged in sex work, they are victims, period. But the fact that some assume they were is problematic.
That's a very specific kind of racism that massage parlor workers experience. The majority of women that are now doing massage parlor work have done restaurant work in the past, right, or nail salon work, but found that massage parlor work is a more lucrative way to gain some kind of class mobility and get their basic needs met.
She works really hard. She really cares about building a good business.
Xiaojie Tan opened Young's Asian Massage 10 years ago with a no-sex policy. Her daughter Jami and ex-husband Michael tell us the 49-year-old took great pride in her cosmetology and massage therapy licenses, working 12-hour days, 7 days a week.
She was an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Immediately, people make assumptions when they see Asian-themed spas.
It's not fair. I know better, and Jami knows better. And it's not fair to make that assumption for Jay or for Asian people in general. It's just not right. And Jay was not naive. She knew of the stereotype. And she used to tell me, she said, I'm not losing my license for anything.
Jami says thanks to her mom's hard work and sacrifice, she was able to graduate from the University of Georgia and become an accountant.
She never finished high school, and she, when I told her that I decided to go to college, she was so happy. She just wanted to celebrate because she's just very proud of it.
You were the embodiment of your mother's dreams.
Yes. That's right.
Xiaojie was killed days before her birthday. Jami's grandmother in China, not knowing of her death, calling on what would have been her 50th. Her family doesn't have the heart to tell her what happened.
The family gathered around a table with video and pictures of it where they were singing happy birthday, and everybody knew that Jay was dead except her mother, Jami's grandmother.
Yes.
Why are you protecting her from that news?
She's old, and we're all afraid that she cannot take that news.
What does your heart feel like right now?
Maybe just like other people say, empty. It's like feeling like some part of me is gone.
The victims, part of a shared grief and a call to action. Xiaojie Tan, Hyunjung Grant, Delaina Yaun, Paul Andre Michels, Sungha Kim, Young Yu, Dao Yo Feng, Sun Jung Park. Their faces, their stories, demanding that this time we don't turn away.